No, I think she said we're live. We're live now. It's in the corner. You see it coming? Okay.
All right, so I guess we're live. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us
on our second episode of Paving the Way.
Today, we're going to talk about our site assessments and how to leverage those to bring value to your customers and to help take care of your properties. So once again, my name is JB.
And I'm Patrick Mullen.
And we are two of the owners at B&M Builders. And we think that we have a lot of good information today that we can bring to you to help you with your customers, to help you with your properties, to keep the value of them high and the quality, I guess, of the, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
Basically, today we're going to talk about our no-fee site assessments. They're good for a number of reasons. We come out and we write up an entire report about what we see and what we find in your parking lot, the problems, issues, the good and the bad. We also check your ADA compliance to make sure that you're not asking for lawsuits. And then we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about recommendations for maintenance that can be done to help basically ensure your parking lot stays in solid condition for a long time to come. Save you guys some money in the long run. Again, it costs us a little bit of money, but we're here to work with you guys.
We're trying to bring value to you. We know we talk to a lot of property managers, a lot of facility managers, and we know that in that position you're very busy, and a lot of times the outside, the parking lots and the walkways and all the outside stuff is not always at the top of the list, the things to be taken care of. So we can spend the time to come in and give a full report with pictures kind of showing you what needs to get done, where the status of your assets are, and what you can do to help maintain those. We think that we do this with the HVAC side also. It's called an air quality assessment, which we'll get into next week or 2 weeks when we do our next one. But we believe that between HVAC and parking lots, like the asphalt in your parking lot, it's really the two most expensive things in any facility.
And also, your parking lot is the first thing people see when they enter your business area. So if your parking lot looks like a piece of crap, people might not even want to come in. They might look at it and go, okay, if this is the way they treat this, then how are they going to treat me? So that's one of the things that we're going to delve into is the why you should maintain your parking lot, keep it looking beautiful. And
it's not just the looks of it, it's actually the value of it also. Your parking lot, to replace a parking lot, it's not a cheap project. They really cost a lot of money. And really what we found is that with proper maintenance and taking care of that lot, you can almost double the life of it. So if you have a parking lot that's going to last you 25 years, but with small costs here and there, you can double the life of that. It definitely makes it worth the effort to put in to lengthen that life, to keep that replacement cost farther in the distant future. So with that, let's kind of dive into our topic. So topic number one we had, which was just basic the site assessment and what we really focus on, which is the asphalt part of it. I think some things we wanted to bring up, which a lot of people don't know about when it comes to the asphalt, is cracks are really the biggest problem when it comes to asphalt. Cracks are what let water and other contaminants get down into the subgrade below the asphalt level, and without those cracks, asphalt will stay strong. Water doesn't penetrate, the base below it will stay strong, keeps everything solid. As soon as water gets in there, it can expand and contrast and start to contract, and start to create voids underneath the asphalt, which will then lead to more cracks, which we call alligatoring. Those are the big things that a lot of people don't know, is cracks are the problem. So if you're seeing cracks in your parking lot or you're seeing networks of cracks, that's what we call the alligatoring. That's a sign of a bigger problem.
One crack can start, and within a matter of a couple of months, depending on how the rainy season is, or how hot or wet your summer and winter and spring and fall are, it can quickly turn from being one crack into a large pothole, which will then extend itself very quickly into an alligatored area where you have a bunch of broken cracks, broken asphalt all over the place. Once that happens, you're in bad shape.
We've actually done a bunch of research where we've gone on some jobs that we kind of bid out And what we do is we put paint on the ground, which is a good thing for you to do with your properties also. Is you go put paint on the ground of where the cracking or the alligatoring has extended to, so that you know. Then let it go through a big winter with a lot of rain, and go check your paint marks. Because what we found is that you can increase almost 25% in size on the size of the patches. It can increase that much in size because so much water is getting in there.
In a matter of 1 winter.
In 1 winter.
And what that does is going to increase your cost to repair it by about 25%. And we've actually seen a bit more than 25. We've seen 25 to 50% on the real bad alligatoring. It can spread really quickly, especially depending on the type of subgrade that you have. If you have a rock subgrade, it's more solid. It's going to last longer than if you have a native subgrade. Native subgrade is just the dirt that is there and always has been. When you build a parking lot on that, that's where JB was mentioning the expansion and contraction comes into place. Rock-based subgrades don't expand and contract as much, so you have a more of a solid base to place the asphalt on. If you pave on native, it expands and contracts quickly, and you're asking for trouble down the line.
When it comes to the actual subgrade failing, you start getting these networks of cracks, the alligatoring. That's a sign that your subgrade is no good anymore also. So it's not just a case where we come in and remove and replace the asphalt, and then we put new asphalt down because the subbase is no longer good. So we have to remove the subbase. And that could be anywhere from 12 inches, well, 6 inches, I guess, down to 18 inches. It could require fabric and a lot of extra rock, and it just turns into much bigger problems. And the longer you leave it and the more water that gets in there, the worse it gets. And another thing that I actually have on this too is drainage. Drainage and overwatering from your landscaping and your sprinklers. This can cause bigger problems than anybody would know too. If you have drains that back up and they don't drain properly because we're not doing sweeping in the parking lots, or the DIs which is the drainage inlet, has been backed up, all that water is going to start to puddle and create big puddles in your parking lot. And if you have those cracks, now that water is just going to sit in those cracks. It's not like water running across the asphalt and getting into the cracks. It's literally sitting in the cracks and puddles. So these are big things to look for in your properties: is networks of cracking called alligatoring, big puddling. When you see these rains coming in like these storms we have, look for big puddlings and see if they're going into areas where there's lots of cracking.
Next thing we want to touch on is ADA compliance. That's the second phase of our no fee site assessment. We'll come in and we have what's called the SMART level. It tells us what the grades are, the slopes that the concrete that you have now is sitting at. And we'll check all of your walkways, we'll check your ADA ramps, and we'll basically be looking for areas that might not be in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act that passed some years ago. If your parking lot or walkways are not compliant, it's basically leaving your business open to lawsuits. I'm sure some of you have heard there's been lawyers who will literally go around and just find businesses that do not have ADA compliant walkways, ADA compliant paths of travel from the parking area onto the walkways, and they'll sue that person and they'll settle with that person for thousands of dollars while literally getting nothing done. All it does is hurt the business. It's put tons of small businesses completely out of business. One of my favorite restaurants in Folsom had to shut their doors. They tore the whole building down because one guy in a wheelchair came and threw a fit because he couldn't get in very easily.
Actually, in the last 2 years, there's been 35,000 ADA lawsuits in California alone.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I did not know that.
I actually just looked this up yesterday just to make sure I was giving you real numbers. And something to look out for, because I mean, it's definitely intimidating, especially if you have an older building and you know, oh, I'm not compliant. But a nice little trick that we know that we can kind of help you out with here is that if you've done work on your ADA compliance, it makes it so you are not, they can't sue you. You put in the effort, you're showing that you put in the work, and it protects you from frivolous lawsuits. And what we've found, and people that we're talking to and customers we deal with, is that doing your ADA parking stalls, which are the front stalls in the front, it's usually like a van parking stall with the cross hatching next to it, or 2 stalls with the ADA ramp, which is the yellow domes that everyone sees. They're called detectable warning surfaces. But having that done, it shows everybody out there that you've done work to keep your place ADA compliant.
Nowadays, anytime you do any kind of a commercial remodel, the municipality that you're doing it through, Sacramento County, whatever city your business might be in, they require you to put a portion of the funds towards ADA compliance, whether that's interior inside the bathrooms or exterior. You get to choose. But they require, I believe it's about 10% of the amount of the remodel has to be towards ADA compliance.
And when it comes to the concrete for our site assessment, it's not just the ADA we look at. We also look at what we found a big problem is tripping hazards. Walkways with your concrete, where tree roots will lift the sidewalk and leave some big tripping hazards. We've seen a lot of people will come try to grind it down, keep it smooth, but the roots are going to keep lifting and keep causing that problem. So you're kind of keep trying to fix something that's going to become just going to be a problem.
It's going to be an issue year after year. And we have other fixes for that. So that it doesn't keep happening to you, and you don't have to keep paying someone to come back every year and regrind the concrete, or remove and replace the concrete, and then it lifts again, and then you're back to grinding or removing and replacing it again. I've seen it happen many times where people just keep on replacing or grinding, and they don't solve the actual problem with the tree roots. So they just keep paying more and more money, and that's not anything anyone wants to do.
That's a big part of what we like, is we want to educate. That's why we're doing the podcast. It's why when we're out talking to customers, we're kind of educating them on the right way to do things. I know that the right way sometimes costs more money, and it's not always cost effective, but we want to make sure those options are there for you, and that we don't give somebody a product that comes out and they're like, oh, well, this isn't what we expected. We want everyone to know. We've got a lot of very educated people here who can come out and check out your property and see what problems could be happening in the future, saying, hey, everything looks good right now, but I foresee this happening. You've got a lot of overwatering happening over here, and that can start to cause cracks and failure. And it has so many other effects. It's not just the asphalt. It's overwatering now your landscaping areas, which are going to cause muddy, messy areas. Just all kinds of things that can cause these. And we want to find these problems, identify them, and help you get them taken care of ahead of time. And really, we're an asphalt contractor. We make our money by repaving your parking lots. So
asphalt, concrete, and underground.
So for us to come and tell you, hey, this is how to maintain your parking lot longer so you don't have to replace it for hopefully an extra 5 or 10 years, it's really outside of our realm of business, because we want to replace your parking lot. I mean, that's what we do. It's where we make our money, is replacing parking lots. But I feel like if I can help you extend the lives of your fixtures and make your assets last longer, then when it's time to do that parking lot, you're going to remember, hey, these are the guys that helped us get the extra 10 years out of it. And now it's time to do it. We want to work with these guys.
We're here to build the trust first, and the work will come later. Now, just anybody that's watching, please feel free to make a comment or ask a question if you're watching us live. If you're not, feel free to drop a question in the comments, and we'll definitely answer to the best of our knowledge.
So I think the third point we had here is just the maintenance side of it. Once we kind of come out and give you the report, it's actually, we have different levels of the report, but we have it's about 7 pages. There'll be a lot of pictures in it to kind of show you where the troubled areas are, or things that are looking good, or things that have happened well. But maintenance is from there. We can kind of show you. A big thing on concrete, except for the tree roots, there's not a lot of maintenance. Once that concrete's in, unless it's being lifted or it's having problems with other issues, you're not going to have a lot of maintenance on that. The asphalt's a much bigger, or a much different story. That cracking needs to be watched, needs to be checked. If you have cracking that's starting, you want to have someone come in and do a little crack sealer on that, probably on a yearly basis. It's always good to get it done right before the rain comes, to seal that up to keep the moisture out.
So we have different levels. Once we get into the maintenance, we come out, we do our site assessment. We show you everything that is a problem or could be a problem in the future. And then we give you options that do cost a little bit different, where we can come in once a year, we can come in twice a year, and we can reseal the cracks, as they expose, or as new cracks come. We walk it once or twice a year, and we seal the cracks for you, so that when the rainy season hits or the dry season hits again, it's not going to expand and contract the subgrade and ruin your parking lot. It's going to help keep it solid. That's just one of the things that we do.
Yeah, we actually created a program a couple years ago called the Yale program, which is called the Asphalt Life Extension. And what we do is we set it up where we'll come in at those, however often we set it up, once a year, twice a year, and check out these little cracks, make sure they're good, get pictures of them, give you a report where you can see where they're at. We'll do a little bit of sealing to keep that all covered up, keep the water out. And then you have a report that you can file to know where you are. We can then comment each year on how it's progressing, where we're moving, or it might be getting time ready for a seal coat where we want to put a seal coat on. What the seal coat is, it's kind of a seal over the whole parking lot. It'll seal up all of the cracks, kind of keeps everything covered and protected to extend that life. And I think they say a seal coat will add 4 years. Is that what it is, Pat?
Something around there.
4 years to the life of the parking lot, especially when we're working on highways and roads. And it's a bridge thing also, is that once you build a product like a bridge or a parking lot or an asphalt roadway, it has a lifespan. This is how long this is expected to live. And doing the seal coats, putting sealers on these things, it extends that life. It'll give you that extra 3 or 4 years. And if you keep doing it every 4 years, if you keep putting seal coat on there, it's going to keep that really strong. It's going to keep those cracks closed up, and it's going to keep the water going where it needs to go, which is to the drainage inlets.
Now, our maintenance recommendations when we talk about coming out and doing the ALE program for you, the asphalt life extension, it's going to the intervals that we'll visit depend on how old your parking lot is. If we just built you a brand new parking lot, then yes, we want you to join our ALE program. No, we don't need to come out 4 to 6 times a year and check cracks. We can come out 1 time a year, find anything small that's wrong with the parking lot, and seal it up. If we're coming in and we're doing remove and replace in multiple different sections, and we're creating patches throughout the parking lot to get rid of potholes or to get rid of alligator areas, then that's something where we're going to want to come more than 1 time a year. So we'll set you up for 2 times a year, 3 times a year to come out, take a look at the parking lot, make sure we're sealing up any problems, and letting you know what we're doing also. So every time that we come out to do this, we give you a report showing you what we did, why we did it, and see if you have any questions about anything.
It's a good note kind of side off of that. But when we come in and do a bunch of patches, we do like to recommend everybody to do a seal coat after. Because what you're doing when you grind out these small sections is you're creating a bunch of small areas which now have cracks, at the edges where you were. So a seal coat will seal all that up. It covers it all up. It's not in the cards for everybody, but it definitely will help lengthen the life of that lot and keep it one looking really nice. Seal coated parking lots look great. Then you get it all striped and it looks like it's a brand new lot all over again. So cool. I think that's it about the maintenance. So what we do, how we work these site assessments, what we do is we call them a no-fee site assessment. We'll come out and do the assessment for you at no cost. We do it for property managers, facility managers, people who own their own buildings and need some work done. Like I said, we do this to bring value to you, to help you see where your parking lots are at. We'd like to come out and, especially if you're a property manager who manages a bunch of properties, we'd love to come out and give you one of these on one of your properties. You can use it to give to your customers, to show them, where they're at and what kind of things they should be looking at for the future.
Also really good at working with owners associations. That can be homeowners associations, or it can be building owners associations. I know sometimes buildings are owned by multiple people and you have a board that you have to deal with. So if you ever have any questions or you'd like us to come speak to the board, we can definitely do that for you to just bring more information to the forefront so that everybody knows what's needed, why it's needed, and give recommendations based off of what we see.
All right, well, thanks for joining us today. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out and let us know. Check us out on all of our social media, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. We should be all over the place. Next week or in 2 weeks, we'll be doing episode 3, which is going to be our air quality assessment, which is a real exciting one. We've done a lot of work to build a real quality assessment based off of Title 24 requirements and what is the correct things to do to keep the air in your building clean. We put a lot of work into this, and we're pretty excited to talk about that one. So.
Again, if you want to get a hold of us, you can, like you said, check out any of our social media stuff, or you can go directly to our website, www.bm-builders.com. That's a hyphen, bm-builders.com. You can also drop any comments, questions, or notes you might have about how we're doing on the show. And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.